In essence, the sign-up process is much simpler than the login process, as all it requires is to insert an email address and a password hash in a database. So in this lesson, we will implement a first version of the sign-up service using once again a fake function that will help us simulate a database call. So let's start by creating a new file within the services directory named signup. Since the data access layer is still not implemented yet, we're going to create another fake function named createUserFake that takes as argument the user's data. This function will either store the provided email in the global's users array if not present and return a resolved promise, or return a rejected promise containing a duplication error message. Let's now move on to the signup module itself that exports an asynchronous function that takes as argument the data parsed by the router layer containing the email address and the password provided by the user, and that hashes the provided password using the bcrypt hash function and calls the createUserFake function to store the provided data. One thing to note though is that there's no need to return any value here, as all we need to know is if the database write operation was successful, in which case there's nothing else to do, or unsuccessful, in which case the error thrown by the createUser function will be caught and handled by the controller. So let's now update the signup controller using a similar logic to the one we used in the login controller by first setting up a try-catch block in charge of handling the errors thrown by the signup service, then by importing and invoking the signup service itself, and finally by responding to the client with an HTTP 201 created confirming the creation of a new record in the database without forgetting to convert the request handler into an asynchronous function due to the use of the await keyword. Note that since the signup service doesn't need any dependencies such as the environment, we're not going to define an intermediary function like we did in the login controller, as it would otherwise violate the Yagni principle, which is a programming principle that arose from extreme programming that states that a programmer should not add functionality until deemed necessary, or in Ron Jeffries' words, always implement things when you actually need them, never when you just foresee that you need them. Let's now verify that our signup endpoint successfully responds with an HTTP 201 when sending a request containing a valid email password pair, and that it responds with an HTTP 500 when sending the same request twice, as it should not allow any user to sign up more than once using the same email address.